at you. Good Thursday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live. We're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, a nasty day in Oklahoma today.
Oh, it's gorgeous compared to what at Burnside, Kentucky this time last week. This is balmy.
Yeah.
It's only 45, raining and windy.
Did you have ice on the deck of the boat?
Yes, going into the final day.
Did you really?
Everything was frosty.
No, I'm talking about that one day where it was just miserable.
Oh, not
raining.
until weigh-in. It rained while I was waiting to put the boat on the trailer after the first day. Or it sleeted after I was putting the boat on the trailer after the first day.
That's miserable. All right, great show today. We're going to have Al McCullough on after he has done numerous interviews, and I'm going to try and pick his brain and ask some questions that, there's going to be a little bit of carryover from some of the previous shows that he's done, but some questions from the responses from questions on shows that he's done.
Yeah, I listened to the Anglers Channel podcast that he did on the way in this morning. And
Ike Live.
He's also been on Ike Live. There's some stuff on the NPFL Facebook page that I watched, like the 3-minute kind of interview, kind of synopsis that they did over there. So there's been a lot of information, but obviously just to catch everyone up to speed real quick in 30 seconds, the National Professional Fishing League had heard rumors of another pro-level circuit, a high cash, high rewards, high stakes that had been kind of mulling around for a couple months is about all I've heard about it. I had
about 3 months.
I had someone call me about 3 months ago that said, I hear something's going, but you can't find any information on it because they've made these guys sign non-disclosure. And I was like, really? And then it kind of came out, and then they announced it, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And here we are. So we've got the MLF umbrella now that includes the FLW Pro Circuit, the FLW Series, and the BFLs. You have Bass that includes the Elite Series, the Open, and the Nation. And I'm interested to see how and where this NPFL will fit in once it starts operations in 2021 season.
Yeah.
Fair synopsis of what's going on there?
No, you're all over it.
All right.
You're dead on.
You got to set the landscape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do have people that kind of join the show and may not have listened to previous shows, but should be a good one, and we'll have him on here in about 5-10 minutes. I wanted to ask you a question, Matt, and I did not ask you this during all the catch-up that we've done from your performance in the Costa Championship, but I'm going to ask you one question, and hopefully you can answer it. What did you learn from that week, fishing-wise? What was one thing from your just marvelous performance that you learned that you're going to take away from that and actually use whatever this is in future events?
I talked about this with Brad Hallman when I talked to him, getting him on the show. He'll be in studio Monday.
Okay.
Was how critical it is, and I would say in 90% of the tournaments, to identify the productive section of lake.
How did you do that, though? You'd never been on the body of water before.
Right. It had to do with research. It had to do with Google Maps study. It had to do with Navionics chip study. And it had to do with what suited my style. So I took the history of that lower end between Wendlandt, Mike Hawks, Brian Thrift, Casey Scanlon. I took the aerial of how the rocks look at. I take how I like to fish the Ozark lakes, picked that section, and then spent the first day trying to find something that looked comfortable. And once I got bit, once I got confidence in an area.
In practice?
Yes, I quit looking. I did not go to a 50-mile stretch of river. The first time I saw it was at takeoff in Burnside on day one. I never looked above Difficulty Creek all the way to Burnside, which is roughly 45 miles.
Yeah.
I spent the first day, I developed a pattern, I explored the second day. Then the third day, I said, I had 4 days of practice. I said, okay, I have confidence in this lower end. I've seen the smallmouth that are down here. I've seen the largemouth that are down here. I've seen that I can catch them multiple ways. So I went back into that area that I had confidence in when it was sunny and calm, instead of trying to figure out something throughout the other part of the lake, and went and tried to figure out how to catch them a different way in there. So my lack of expansion helped me. What?
There's just a comment on
What?
the instant feedback. I posted it.
I can't see it because this computer freezes
Well, you
up.
got to reboot it every day. I told you that. Anyway, Joe said, I can tell you what he learned. He learned to fix whatever the heck was broke.
But seriously, that's what I learned.
No. All right. So having said that, is that the approach that you're going to take to the vast majority of events that you go into?
Yes, and it's a double-edged sword, and I've talked about this with Brad, because if you pick the wrong section or you miss a bite, you're totally screwed. Like, I ran around Lake of the Ozarks. I didn't catch him. I ran around Grand. I didn't catch him. I ran around Amistad. I didn't catch him. I stayed in a 2-mile stretch on Table Rock. I caught him. I stayed in a 200-yard stretch on Kentucky. I caught him. I stayed in a 2-mile stretch on Sam Rayburn. I caught him. And I stayed in a 4-mile stretch on Cumberland, and I caught him. So there's a obvious pattern that developed that works for me. Now, within that, it's not like I'm staying in the same spot. And it's different on different fisheries, but the way those set up for me, that's how I do it best. I can't compete with the locals who know it one end to the other and can make those small adjustments based on that. I can learn one section, get confidence in it, and if I'm 75% sure that I've picked the right section and feel 100% confident I can catch them in it, I would take that over knowing that at some point of the day I'll fish the right section, but I'm only 50% confident that I can catch them.
So what happens, you're halfway through day 2 in practice and the area or the section is not paying off? What do you do then?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I spend my practice trying to find that section. And the tournaments you do that I did well in, I found that section early and then was able to expand it.
If you don't find it,
you keep looking. Like on Lake of the Ozarks, I kept looking. I never found it, and I sucked. You see what I'm saying?
So the key is to find something early based upon the homework that you do and all the research.
For me, yes.
Do you think that style would work for a lot of people out there?
Yes, and here's what I base it off of. 2 months ago, we did an interview with Brian Thrift, and I came up with the spoke and hub theory.
Right, which was awesome.
You find the hub, that is kind of your home base where you have the confidence in, and then you can explore the different spokes of the wheel, and when it all works out, you've got a wheel that rolls perfectly true. So I has said, I'm going to try to find the hub. Now, sometimes you don't find it and you end up with 4 square wheels. But when you do find it, I feel like it's safe, and I feel like you can take a massive 55-mile-long fishery like Cumberland and pare it down into something that you can actually digest.
So how far did you go back in your research? Because there's not a whole lot of information.
Just the past tour events and everything, and I went back and saw that the water was high and stuff. You'll see in my bass boot camp, I catch a fish and I go, that's key. And it was the first day. I said, that could be the key fish. 4 pounds
on day
small.
1 or during
day 1 during practice.
Really?
About 2 hours into practice. And sure enough, it was the key fish. This is the crazy part. I put my boat in where I started practice at Sam Rayburn. That's where I started the tournament and caught him. Where I put my boat in, literally the first stop at Table Rock, that's where I started in the tournament. And here, I didn't even realize this. That kind of sunken barge deal that I found, that was my second stop of the entire tournament. And I found it throwing a whopper plopper down the bank and looking down and going, there's something metal underneath there with a bunch of fish around it. And that turned out to be my hub.
Yeah.
That section within that 500 yards around there with the bluffs, and that was my hub. And then you saw the kind of spokes that I went out on as far as finding out the different type of rocks. So is there some luck factor in that? Yeah. But is it having an idea in your head? Yes. Without being completely, this is what I'm going to do no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like open-minded, yet with a plan.
Okay. All right. Now, Lee brings up a good point. What happens when you start that is an area that is just jam-packed full of other competitors?
I mean, I got no problem fishing around other competitors. But I knew that at Cumberland that wouldn't be the case because it's not like you're fishing 3 stumps that everyone's trying to fish. It fishes big.
Yeah.
I could tell at all the other stops. I never ran into that.
Yeah.
I saw 3 or 4 guys, but I tried to pick areas where I had options that were similar to where I never really had to worry about my boat draw this year. I never really worried about other guys being on my stuff. You know, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 times the entire year where I went somewhere and someone was on it.
Yeah.
And the rest of that time, it didn't even cross my mind that someone would be there.
Well, I was thinking at it from a perspective that people are trying to learn from this, panger tactic. What do you do if you get into an area, or what do you do if you get into an area and there's not a whole lot of people there? You find the juice, you find the hub. Then on day 1, if it's a 2-day event, or even if it's a single-day event, you roll into your hub and there's 30 other boats there.
Yeah, well, if you're around the fish and stuff, you'll still be able to catch them.
You don't think pressure has a dramatic effect on the hub?
Right, it does. But I mean, one of the reasons why I didn't even go into Fishing Creek was because
so many people were in there.
I knew that the spotted and smallmouth bass were somewhat unreliable this time of the year, but that's how you could get a lot of weight. But that, I did my research. A lot of the local tournaments had been won by largemouth in that section of the lake. So when I put my boat in, I went down to the dam and I saw there were only 10, 15 guys down there that put their boats in.
Yeah.
And Manson, actually Travis, the guy I room with, put in Fishing Creek, and he called me first morning. He's like, "This sucks, bro. There's like 70 boats in here." So I knew, like, immediately when I went in the backs and saw 10, 15 guys, I knew that wasn't going to be my hub, because that hub is going to get worn out before the tournament even starts. So that's why I immediately wrote that off.
All right.
So you take all that. I mean, if there were 1 million people doing what I was doing, I probably would have tried to find a different hub.
I got you. All right. It's a good plan, though, man.
I mean, obviously, it sounds like I know when I'm talking about what I catch it, but I mean, you have to understand, it's a 3rd place. No one remembers who finished 3rd, and I'm coming off of 2 tournaments where I didn't even cash a check. So it's not like a foolproof plan. It just worked out a couple times, and I'm learning as I go here.
That's good stuff, though. It is a great concept, especially the building upon the hub, that whole hub thing. That's really, really good. All right, let's take a break. Come back with Al McCullough. Learn a little bit about the National Professional Fishing League. Everybody stay tuned.
You are serious about catching fish. That HDS is a dead giveaway. You've got the best fish finding sonar money can buy. Time to build the ultimate fish finding system with live sight sonar. See what your lure is doing in real time. Watch fish strike as it happens. See for yourself. Take the Live Sight Sonar 30-day challenge. If Live Sight Sonar doesn't help you find and catch more fish, send it back, no questions asked.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Guys, Gerald Swindle, Sunline Pro Staff. If you're a flipper, a slackline hook setter, you're really putting a lot of impact into your hook set, look for the shooter. It comes off the smooth, really smooth. Like when you're flipping, it is smooth. If you're gonna be drop shotting and cranking, sniper's the deal, man. It seems like it's a little bit less likely, like on a sharp hook set, it doesn't seem like it likes it as much. But for coming off the spool on spinning rod, leaders, cranking, like if I'm gonna throw a big plug at Guntersville, I've still got strong tensile strength. It's not gonna give out on me, but yet the line's thin enough it'll get down. So to me, Shooter takes a hook set, snipers for everything else. So if you're gonna slackline them, go shooter.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves, could even be a hurricane. I got my power pole down.
Hey guys, Cliff Perch here with AFCO. I've got the new camo hooded reaper. It's going to be a great thing both for fishing and hunting this fall. I can tell you a couple of the features about it. Got the face mask like all the reapers do, vented in front. It's got the fleece on the inside, so it's really comfortable. It's super warm. When you come down to the pocket, it's got this little snap system called Block Tapey, and it's silent. You know, it doesn't make that sound that other snaps and other systems that hook it together make. Great for hunting, and it's going to keep that stuff in your pocket.
All right, we are back on a Thursday, show number 4 of the week. And as Matthew mentioned, we will have Bradley Hallman in studio on Monday. I'm working on the remainder of the week. And getting ready for the holidays, man.
You see what just went through in Vegas? Las Vegas adopts ban on sleeping, camping on streets and sidewalks. It's a good thing because I was a couple bad decisions from that a week or two ago.
If you wouldn't have found that structure,
yeah,
might have been a different story. No, that's not true. Anyway, well, good for Vegas, man. They need that. You know, the bridge people. When you went over the little walk bridges, do you remember that last time we were out? They were always on there sleeping and begging.
Oh, you know where I went to the very first time that I'd never been to? What's that one street down there that's got the big, it's down in Old Vegas by the Golden Nugget. It's got the big LED screen over the world's largest. I can't remember what the name of that street is. What is it?
I don't know.
It's like the most famous street down there.
I'd
never been down there before.
Yeah. Really?
It was crazy. It was wild.
To the Golden Nugget?
Yeah, I went to all that.
The original
is that where your
World Series of Poker was?
Yeah, is that where you were? Or
no, I was at the Rio.
The Rio, okay.
Yeah. All right, it is time. It is time to bring in our special guest. Looking forward to it. He is at the St. Louis airport, Matthew, getting ready to fly out and
make deals, do business, talk strategy for the new NPFL that will kick off in 2021.
Yeah, and he's done a zillion interviews already, but had to get him on. I've got a few questions here. Is that too many?
You're on the legal pad. You've got notes circled, numbers circled. So this is your this is opportunity. I mean, we talk fishing every once in a while, but this is your opportunity to talk business.
There is a lot about fishing on this legal pad.
All right.
So let's bring him in. Al, you there, man?
I am here, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, man. Thanks for doing our show. I know you've done numerous shows already, and hopefully we will not just rehash everything that's been said.
Well, first off, to start off, the street name is Fremont.
That was it. Fremont Street.
Awesome place to go visit Old Vegas. Number 2, Matt, congratulations on the Costa down there at Cumberland. Heck of a finish right there. It looked like the Oklahoma contingency came to play that week.
Very comfortable looking lake for guys who are used to rock, and more rock.
Absolutely. Good old Grand, good old Cumberland, all those ones.
Yeah. Well, man, I know you've made the rounds. I know everybody is really excited about what's going to go down in 2021 when you launch this thing. But I appreciate you taking time out. And the first question that I have, I've listened to probably 4 interviews that you've done, and both you and Paul, in your discussions, you've said the same thing just about on every single one that I've listened to about this is going to be better for the sport. This is going to grow the sport. I just want to know how.
Well, basically my philosophy is, number one, to just give your listeners some background. So I cut my teeth in the industry as far as running tournaments, the optics and logistics with Midwest Fish Tournaments, Anglers in Action, the Big Bass Bash for the Terrell family. So over the last 15 years, besides bringing on sponsors, marketing, and emceeing events, I've made my rounds at the Classic, at the Cup, at various FLW and Elite events, and just kind of engaged not only sponsors but anglers, and asked them what is not being done out there. What would you like to see? And just started collecting notes about 10 years ago. 3 years ago, I put together a business plan, kind of shelved it, got busy. And then when the rumor mill started up about Major League Fishing and FLW, I started the process about 5 weeks ago. And in a 2-week span, based on everything in the strategy that I put together, I found that there was a need for a lot of guys on the outside looking in. If you look at the 3 major organizations, all fine organizations and everything like that, but the elites, you're talking about 80, 85. MLF, you're talking about 80, that's 165. And then you look at FLW Pro Circuit, that's down to 150. So you're talking about 310 spots for professional anglers worldwide to go out there and fish for big money against big-time competition. Well, if you go down the list and you look at the Costa guys, the BFL guys, Wild Wild West, Triple T, Alabama Bass Trail, there's a market out there for these big-time hammers to come on board with another platform. They might have qualified but never got the invite. So I said, you know what? Let's go out there. This is America. This is capitalism. Competition is good. Let's see if we can run with this thing, kind of put together some ideas with the ownership group, Brad and Michelle at Omega Custom Tackle and Paul Benson at Cashin, and we said, you know what? Let's give this thing a whirl.
And there you have it, okay? And I get all that, and I think that's magnificent. But the statement of growing the sport, it sounds like to me that you're just trying to be competitive and pull anglers from events that they are currently involved in, maybe at a lower level, maybe at a higher level, but you're not really pulling in any new things that we hear the term growing the sport all the time. You're just giving the current anglers a platform for them to choose, which is not a bad thing. I just don't see how all these other organizations continually say grow the sport when they're not pulling outside of the industry that's already established.
Well, I mean, look, you've got the same great professionals in all 3 formats right now as far as the platforms go with Bass and FLW and Major League Fishing. I firmly believe, being in the industry and talking to guys and seeing guys at events and all that stuff, look at the collegiate level. We got a lot of good time, big time anglers that are coming out of the college ranks. I mean, what Cabela's and Bass has done for that. There's going to be a lot of anglers out there looking for a home to fish, not only the Costas, the BFLs, the Opens, and then if they're lucky enough to get an invite to the top 3 programs. I just believe that there's more room out there to showcase bass fishing. And let's look at this. The outdoor world, that's an $800 billion industry. There's a lot of non-endemic companies and corporations out there that are not involved. We're going to give them an opportunity with our platform to come on board, kind of dip their toe in the water, and see if this is something that they want to, look at as far as sponsorship and branding and marketing inside. I mean, the anglers out there, you go to a typical boat ramp for an Anglers in Action event, and you look from the bumper to the prop, and you're easily talking with equipment and all that stuff. You're talking about $100,000. So there's a lot of money out there for these individuals to buy products from various sponsors. But like I said, getting back to the main point, with the collegiate ranks coming out, all these teams, the bass clubs, et cetera, some of them getting scholarships and everything like that, there is going to be a plethora of talent out there to grow this sport and to market and show off these personalities with the NPFL.
I listened to a couple of the other podcasts that you've done, and I just kind of want to get some clarity on this. Do you see the NPFL being, I know you have plans of expansion. Right now it's a 1 in every 3 payback, $50,000 first place. Ideally, you said you would like to get to a top half payout with $100,000 first place, no entry fee championship. Do you see this eventually on par with the MLF umbrella and the BASS umbrella? Or you've also talked about some stepping stones, how you value the Bassmaster Opens, and you called it in one of them the granddaddy of them all, the Bassmaster Classic. Is this tour kind of something where you'll have an alumni list of guys who graduate from the NPFL and then go on to the Elite Series through the Opens? Or is this like a home where guys fish for 10, 15, 20 years and it becomes their career?
No, absolutely. The main goal is this is a home. I mean, we strive to be what bass is and surpass that. Now, look, we're starting from day one. We understand where we're at as far as low man on the totem pole, and that's fine and everything. But, yeah, we strive to be in competition with bass, but I'm also in negotiations with Bass, talking about some different things that we can, basically collaborate on as far as what do we do for the future of the sport. Look, the competition part of it is great for both organizations. We're going to push everybody, and they're going to push us. But at the same time, it also, you look at it when you come down to some of these regional tournaments and stuff, you try to get these tournament directors in the same room for scheduling and logistics and all that stuff, and it's kind of tough there. But my whole philosophy is there's a way to work it out as far as the solution goes. I'm a pragmatist. There's some way we can find a solution. And the biggest thing that we put in that press release was not to schedule on top of these Bass Opens, simply because I don't think it's fair to the angler to take that opportunity that every kid dreams of to punch their ticket to the Classic. And that's why I called it the Granddaddy, because of what they've done, and everybody strives to do exactly what Bass does as far as the talent level goes and the production and all that stuff. Now, as far as talking about, there's a lot of plans for us. We're going to start this thing out, and basically it's going to be about 125 anglers showing up at a lake and going to fish for $500,000 in prize money, and then trying to qualify for that championship, the top 25 based on points, to go fish a non-entry championship for $250,000. Now, when we bring on sponsors, this purse is going to increase. I've done numerous questionnaires to FLW anglers and elite anglers. I've got a ton of data that I've put together over the last 10 years, and especially over the last 5 weeks. I will tell you this. In 2 weeks' time, when the rumor mill came out about MLF and FLW, I had about 91 professional anglers that you guys all know sign non-disclosure agreements, and then I just started to talk to them individually and say, look, here's an option for you. Here's a plan B. See what things go. We'd love to have you over there. But, as far as to answer your question in simplest form, yeah, we want this thing to be the best of the best for 20, 30, and 40 years.
Very interesting. Do you think, and I'm really intrigued by your thought process of going after the collegiate angler, because student loan debt has never been as high as it is today. A 2-year commitment of $60,000 total just in entry fees. $100,000 in a bass boat and a truck. Seriously, how many college students are going to be able to do that?
Well, I will tell you this. We are not going to the government for free entry fees. These kids are going to have to pay their way just like we all had to do back in our day. But when I talk about the collegiate level, I'm talking guys that are 5-6 years out of school. You look at like the Jordan Lees and all that stuff. Of course, they're on MLF. They've done their work with the elites and all that stuff. But I'm talking about college kids that have been out in the workforce for 5 or 6 years, have been fishing BFLs, have been fishing coastas, and now looking to step up and are financially secure. I'm not looking for that person that just graduates and all of a sudden they've got $50,000 or $100,000 debt. I would give them advice as their consigliere or consultant to say, look, you need to go out, you need to find your way as far as business goes or your career or whatever you might do. You need to get all your ducks in the row before you make this big decision. Look, there's no doubt about it, guys. $60,000 commitment with an option for a third year, which would be $90,000 just alone in entry fees, is a lot of money. And then add on into it, just say $2,000 at the high end for your expenses. That's another $14,000 if you make the championship. So now you're looking at well over $120,000 for 3 years of professional fishing for big money and all that stuff. So when I talk about the collegiate level, and as far as student debt goes, we're not going to sign somebody on and put them in a predicament to where, they're in debt for the next 20 years. They need to show proof that they're financially secure. We'll sign them on, and we'll let them go to fish on the platform that we're offering them.
So to me, it kind of sounds like you're looking for guys that can catch them, know they can catch them, and I'll use this Steve Kennedy example. One of the guys who's confident going out and fishing for other guys' money, saying, I'll put up my money, but I think I can win more of other guys' money and make a profit doing this.
Yeah, get back to grassroots. Everybody show up at a lake. Here are the rules. Here's the off limits. Let's compete for 3 days, and whoever has the biggest 3-day total, they're going to win $50,000. That last check at 44 spot, which is 1 in 3 boats, $9,000. In worst case scenario, that individual is going to make $2,000 and be in the black. Now, our goals, like you stated earlier in the call there, hey, we want to get to 1 in 2 boats. We want to get $100,000 per event, $500,000 to the championship in 5 years, $100,000 angler of the year. And that's going to take the ownership group's hard work to go out there and find sponsors, whether they're endemic or non-endemic. So, we've got a good business plan put together for this thing. There's a lot of hurdles that we still have to go. We've got 16 months to do it. We're not rushing this thing out. And we're going to do this thing right. When we flip the switch on March 2021, guys, it's going to be a great show for the viewer. And when we talk about the scheduling of these events with 2 spring, 2 summer, and 2 fall, it takes into account anglers' families, their careers, and their businesses as far as spreading out and not being so top-heavy in the spring.
All right, a couple of quick questions on the instant feedback, Al. Dave wants to know, can you talk about boat companies being involved with your league? Are you currently in negotiations, and can you mention what boat companies you're trying to secure, if any?
I am currently in negotiations with some boat companies, but at this time I can't mention everything. Everything is going through the process of basically getting the numbers lined up, who wants to be involved at certain levels, and then, of course, getting all the lawyers together for the contracts and everything. But we are in negotiation with boat companies, with motor companies, a lot of non-endemics. There's actually been some great feedback. Our website is up where we can have sponsors, venues, and anglers go in there and put in their information, and a lot of that stuff is pouring in currently right now. So we're being well received. We've got a lot of work. We've got to produce a product that they want to invest in, not only the anglers, but the sponsors and the motor companies and the boat companies. But those are all in the process right now. And like I said, we've got 16 months, but I'd rather get this done sooner rather than later.
Real quick, I have a question then. the 125 number, is that something that you have any concern about possibly reaching? What if as you get there, you find out you have 75, 80? Is that a number that you is so far? And obviously there's 16 months to go. People can turn their resumes in till the end of the month for this thing to start in 2021. But how does that work? How did you determine 125? And do you have any concern about reaching that number with the $5,000 entry fee?
Well, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't have a concern reaching the 125. But what I do know right now is the people that are very interested in doing what we're doing based on, you're looking at 6 days this has been out in the public. Those resumes are coming in, and they're coming in hot. As far as, putting that field together and everything like that, like I said, we've got 16 months. We're taking in these resumes. We're going to have to do a lot of due diligence when we announce the field and when we send out the invites. We don't have any criteria as opposed to say you need to be a Costa champion or you need to finish in the top 20 in the Costas in the last 2 years. We want anybody and everybody who thinks that they're a great angler that wants to put up the money to fish for big-time money and $500,000 for that event to throw their resume to us. The ownership group is going to look at it. We also got a third party that's going to be involved in this process. And probably around the end of Q1 of 2020, the invites will be sent out and the list will be sent out to everybody to look at who's going to be fishing the NPFL in 2021.
All right, and that's a good lead-in, Matthew, because my next question is, you have time, you have 16 months. Why not have the field based upon performance and have maybe 2 or 3 events in 2020 and say, you know what, the top 125 in points, here, you're going to earn your way in rather than doing the process of weeding out. Why not do that, Al?
Well, you know what, that's a great suggestion there. We don't want to put, there's a lot of things that go into running a trail as far as the trailer, the logistics, the optics, the regatta permits, sponsorship dollars, etc., startup costs, and all that stuff. As far as the business plan that we put together, we feel that this is the best opportunity for us to put a product out there that is both viable to the angler and to the sponsor. Not anything against what you just said there. That's a phenomenal idea. But what we feel that we put together, this is the best process to when we turn the lights on in 2021, this thing is going to pop.
Okay, I would think that there are big concerns out there about the selection process and guys being, either left out or, I'm all about Al,
sure.
and people that watch and listen to this show. I think success should be based upon performance and how you perform, not just because you got selected to do something. Now, in this case, I understand the limitations that you're saying, but from a time factor, I think the general public, I think the anglers, and I think a lot of more people would respect the fact that somebody earned their way in rather than being selected.
So let's clear this myth up real quick to answer your question there. So I was always a better student when it came to report cards and semesters in the long haul. When I had to do those SATs and ACTs and stuff on that one day, I might have been out a little too late before that test on Saturday morning, and I was kind of an average student as far as scoring there. Okay. So let's kind of take the analogy right there. In the long haul, I used to be able to sweet talk the teachers, maybe get a little extra credit, all that stuff. I will tell you this, when we make our selection for the 125, it's not going to be, oh, this person is my friend, I know this person, etc. We are going to look at their resume as far as their performance, what they fished, who they fished against, and of course performance. If there's a lot of guys from the Costas, we're going to look at where they fall and all that stuff, the BFLs, All-Americans and all that stuff. So when we put that 125 list out there, you're going to see a group of anglers out there that are rewarded on performance. But we're not going to put criteria out there that basically says, okay, you've got to have won a division in this year and you need to place in this level and all that stuff. We just want anybody and everybody who thinks that they're good enough to send us a resume. We'll do the due diligence along with a third party, and then we're going to make the best decision. Look, I don't want to have a whole 125 guys out there that can't catch fish. And that's basically what you would get if you just say, selection process, I like this guy's good from this area. No, we're going to be looking at their careers and their resumes as far as what they fished and putting the best 125 together.
All right. From a non-endemic standpoint, I've said for many, many, many years that non-endemics are going to be critical for the financial stability of all of the organizations that are involved at the highest level. I've said with Major League Fishing, the amount of money that they spend, I mean, the cost, they're spending, well over $1 million per tournament. And when you look at the bottom line, that model does not survive unless they generate more revenue from non-endemics. What gives you and your organization an edge to bring a non-endemic to your organization rather than a non-endemic wanting to get involved with bass or Major League Fishing?
Well, I mean, the first factor you can look at is basically the cost. Look, we're not going to be able to charge what Bass does or what Major League Fishing does or what FLW Pro Circuit does. So if there's a non-endemic out there that's wanting to just kind of test the outdoor and bass fishing professional platform as far as exposure and return on investment, hey, we're the choice for them. We're not going to be charging $1 million, $2 million and all that stuff. They can come into us. They can look at us for our 1-year production as far as the logistics and the optics of running the tournament plus our live streaming. And they can say, you know what? We spent a third of what we would have spent somewhere else, and we got a lot better return out of it. Now, look, we're going to have to produce. We get these endemics or non-endemics on board, and we turn the switch on. We got to make it a production. We got to show these people, hey, these are the products that are supporting us. Go out and support them. So to answer your question in short, a lot less cost to that company to kind of test the waters in the outdoor world and in the bass fishing world specifically.
Do you have any rock-solid commitments from an angler standpoint? And obviously, I don't want to know who, but can you say at least a number that you have committed right now are going to be part of that 125?
I've got 30 guys right now that are committed.
Okay.
That's the number as of yesterday. I'm not going to tell their names.
Yeah.
Simply, and you're not going to ask for it, of course. But the reason I just want to protect the anonymity of the individuals, because I know how this industry works. I've been around it for 15 years. You know how it works.
Yep.
But we've got 30 guys right now that want to sign contracts, and the contracts will be set up here probably by next week. But what we're going to do for the angler and for the sponsors and for the venues, we're going to give the anglers a digital media pack where they can go out and sell themselves based on what we put together for them in a digital board form. We're going to help them gain their own personal sponsors. I will tell you that. We're not just going to say, look, give us your money, and we're not going to support you. We're going to support these anglers, their families, their livelihood, and give them an opportunity to go out and fish for big money.
I want to ask you a question. It's kind of a selfish question, but Dwayne also brought it up on the instant feedback. He said, why not be competitive with entry fees with Costas or Bass Opens? But here's my question as an angler who's competed in multiple Costa divisions, made the championship, fished the Opens in the past, kind of covered the gamut of top-level non-professional bass fishing. What would be the incentive for me to send in my resume to try to get on this tour in 2021 as opposed to fishing both divisions of the Opens or 3 divisions of the FLW series with the championship carrot there that's now $250,000 on the FLW series with the Classic and the Elite Series qualification on the bass side? Why would it make sense for me to go with the NPFL as opposed to one of those other organizations where I can fish more for less entry fee?
Well, let's just take, for instance, the FLW Pro Circuit. If you get an invite there, your fees are up to $40,000, $700 more per event, okay? I still think there's a lot of information that they're going to tell the anglers, but their championship there, you're basically doing 5 fish limit for all the events, and then you get to the championship, and you're fishing MLF-style formats, in which, there's nothing to begrudge MLF and everything. It's a fine organization. I like them thinking outside the box. But some guys' DNA is not triggered to fish that way for 70 fish. They like to go out and find 5 big ones over an 8 or 9 hour period. What I would say as far as why you would want to choose us, and let's just take the Costas and the BFLs, those entries are a lot less. It's a top-heavy award, kind of all or nothing, and then it drops off big time as far as the payouts go. But if you look at my payouts, and believe it or not, guys, I'll share a little data with you. I put out two scenarios as far as payouts go. And I got about 60 responses from current professional bass anglers. I said, do you want $100,000? Basically a $5,000 entry, 1 and 3 get paid. First place is $100,000. And then that last place, 44th, 1 and 3 is at $9,000. Or would you rather have $50,000 and then it goes 50, 40, 30 or 50, 30, 20 down to that 9,000 for that 1 and 3 in that 44 spot? I will tell you, all but one, 60 guys chose the $50,000 prize money payout scale simply because they see an opportunity for them to make money. I want to correct myself on the 100,000. I think the last place was $7,000 at 44 spot. Mm-hmm. So these guys are all about more opportunities to actually make money. You know, I've seen it a lot of times where guys have gone to tournaments, they've been in the check line, but they lost $300 or they lost $1,000. Well, what the hell? That's no good. At least with our tournament there, you go and you spend that money. If you're at the top end of those expenses at $2,000, you get a check for $9,000. You're going to be in the black. Okay, you put some food on the table, you got some cake in the pocket, so to speak, all that good stuff. So those are kind of the things. Look. Mm-hmm. One of the things we're not doing is scheduling on top of those bass opens. I would never take that opportunity away from an angler. If somebody wants to punch a ticket, it's a tough road to get there. You know, you're going up against 10,000, 15,000 anglers winning the opens, all stuff. But I would never take that away from an angler, their opportunity to do that. Everybody has choices. Now they have one more choice. You look at what our press release is. You look at the money, the payout. You know, it's 80-20, when actually it's 85-15 because we're taking $250 from those entry fees throughout the season, putting it into the championship. The bottom guy is going to make $5,000 for showing up. Okay? The top guy is going to get $50,000. Now, when we bring on sponsors, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to kick those prize monies up as far as events go and as far as the championship goes. You know, my biggest vision when I started this thing is, hey, we got to have a $100,000 prize or it's a no-go. When I listened to the anglers, I said, okay, you know what? We're going to give them what they want. And I got to think that that goes across the board for not just those 60 guys, but for the majority of the folks out there.
All right, man. I know you got a flight to catch.
You know, he's going to be in the middle seat if we keep him much longer. He's back in the plane already. In the middle seat if he's flying Southwest.
No, he's good.
Hey,
no.
I've done it on the last throw with a puppy out to California, so I can handle it, man.
I'd rather a puppy than a baby.
Yeah. All right. A couple of quick.
You know what?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Al.
But yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Definitely good. Definitely good talking to y'all. You got anything else?
Yeah, a couple.
Or are we good to go?
A couple of quick questions from the instant feedback. One, several people want to know. Ultimately, are you trying, based upon what you said earlier in the show, are you trying to build some type of relationship with bass?
Absolutely, 100%.
Interesting.
I'd be foolish not to. All
right, and then the second question is. Hang on, from several people is, are you seeking any television exposure, or is this strictly going to be digital?
So we're not saying, the ownership group, we've decided we're not saying no to television, but our focus right now is about live streaming. And that's where I think the bass industry is still, that live streaming from launch to on the water to the weigh-in. That's where we want to focus at. Look, TV is out of our budget right now, but we're never going to turn anybody away, whether it's a sponsor or whether it's a TV deal. But all of our exposure is going to be via the web. I mean, everybody's watching it on their iPhone, their iPad, their desktop, their laptop, etc. So that's where our concentration is at.
Real quick, fantasy fishing?
Heck, why not, man? I play fantasy football. I stink at fantasy baseball, but I rock at fantasy football.
I think that's underutilized in fishing.
I tell you what, we want to get involved with fish and pins. That's what we want to do with you guys. We want to help support that whole thing right there.
The fishing and the bowling, that would be awesome. All right, yeah. Hey, a couple more real quick from the instant feedback. To people that sign a contract, do they have to pay the $60,000 up front, or is it staggered out?
No, it's staggered out. We're going to have a payment plan deposit. We're still working on the details of it, but we're going to spread it out to make it the best viable thing for not only the angler, but for their sponsors that are paying those bills most of the time. So this is something where a deposit will be due in 2020 at the end of the year, probably Q4, and then those payments will probably be spread out January, February, all the way to June.
All right, man. Biggest challenge right now. Over the next 6 months, what's your biggest challenge, Al?
Sponsors. Sponsors will be the biggest challenge. Convincing them, we have nothing out there to say, hey, here's what it looks like. So that's going to be our biggest challenge as far as the ownership group goes. But we've got a lot of irons in the fire. And on top of that, we've got a lot of people outside that are wanting to help bring us on for events out west, northeast, and the southeast. So I would say sponsors like everybody else.
All right. Last thing. Are you familiar with the Nigerian Professional Football League?
I remember Christian Okoye for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Nigerian Nightmare, but I do not know that football league.
All right. That would be the NPFL. You might want to take a look at that.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right.
But TNPFL is a little bit different than the NPFL.
TN.
Or the NAT.
There's a T.
There's a T in there.
V.
Very important.
TNPFL.
Very important.
T is in Tom.
That T is very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially when you talk about the NPFL.
Yes.
I will tell you this: I might have to get a squad together, and we're going to put Jeffries on there. I know his back is back to 100%.
Well, if you get him on the TNPFL, you better schedule some Zara Spook, Carolina Rig, and sight fishing tournaments, or else he's donating 30 G's.
Yeah, I don't know about that. My donating days could continue. Yes.
I got to board this plane, man, but I appreciate you guys, and you guys got a seat at the table when it comes to our first event in 2021 or anything you need to know in 2020.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Be good, guys.
All right, see you. All right, interesting stuff. They have a challenge, Matthew. They have a challenge.
Here's my biggest thing. It's easier for me. It was easier for me. Obviously, I had the support of AFCO Bass Boot Camp, but hypothetically, let's say the Forest Wood Cup still exists and the $300,000 and all that.
Yeah.
Fishermen are all about that carrot. And every once in a while, you catch the carrot.
Yeah.
And even if it's one or two guys, heck, I know those one or two guys. I know that James Biggs is one and gotten to go to the Cup and do the Live in the Dream package.
Yeah.
I know that John Sukup finished 6th on Kentucky Lake and got to go to the Forest Wood Cup and got $10,000 and got sponsors out. Like, I know these guys. My issue right now is where's the carrot in the TNPFL?
It's in the money that you can make.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it from a classic perspective, a Forest or a FLW Pro Circuit Championship perspective. A lot of us that are fishing that level, I want that carrot.
Okay, hang on.
Get it. You see what I'm saying?
What happens if in 2022, based upon what he said during this interview, that somehow, some way, he strikes a partnership
with Bass, where your top guy gets to go on the Elite Series?
Yes. What do you have?
Now you have the carrot.
Yeah.
So I think that's smart of him, the smart of that organization to try. At the same time, I mean, I could also see it for the money in their championship if this goes as planned and you get in and now you're fishing for 100 in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Are you convinced that they'll be able to get 125 first year? What are your thoughts on that?
Man.
Are there 125 guys that are not fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series or the FLW Pro Circuit or the Bass Pro Tour that financially and logistically have $30,000 in entry fees, roughly $50,000 total to fish these 6 events?
All right, he said he has 30 already.
Right.
So are there 95 guys
that meet their qualification, their criteria? I mean, are there 95 guys with $50,000 disposable income that bass fish? Yes. Are there 95 guys that will meet their criteria, that have aspirations to fish at that level, that are not going to be fishing one of those other trails?
Man, right now I would say no. And the only reason I would say no is partly because of the conversation we just had about the carrot. Okay. But the second thing is, and I didn't want to bring it up because I know he was pushed for time. Dude, I'm telling you, we are in such a
cocoon?
No, just
bubble?
Not a bubble. We're just in this position right now from an economic standpoint.
Everything's good.
That things, if they continue to go well, and things remain really, really good from an economy standpoint, then yeah, maybe. But if we see a downturn in the economy and things happen in the election or whatever takes place, then I think he's got an enormous challenge. And I brought this up a little bit during the interview, and it was kind of muddy in the beginning, but when they did the interview on Ike Live, they said that they weren't in a competitive environment. Then they said that they were in a competitive. It kind of went back and forth.
I agree.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. What they need to understand, they are in a massive competitive environment from a sponsorship standpoint, from an angler standpoint.
Yeah.
People are going to make decisions. Companies are going to make decisions. That's why I asked the question, what gives you an edge? What gives you an edge over a non-endemic or even an endemic to be a part of your organization from a sponsorship standpoint that MLF or Bass doesn't offer? And the response he gave, which makes sense, is, okay, well, we have nothing proven. We have no data. We have no demographics. We have nothing. Is going to be cost. Well, are companies going to be willing to invest money on an unknown? Some will.
Right. And if you're looking to get that exposure, you can get it at a lower dollar cost. It's going to be spread out over a longer period of time based on the season.
Yeah.
With the 2 spring, 2 summer, and 2 falls. And the first year, obviously, is going to generate a lot of curious people that want to see what it's all about.
Here's the other thing I'll say about them filling the field. And Mike kind of said it. Mike from New York kind of said it. I think they might be able to possibly fill the field, but it's not going to be a true professional field. And I think that is one of the most overused terms, and it was interesting to hear Paul and Al's comments on the term professional on the Ike Live show. Well, yeah, you can be professional and conduct yourself in a professional manner, but when it comes to an occupation, the term professional brings on a new meaning.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, let's say there are going to be a lot of guys who this is right up their alley who couldn't cut the mustard at the Elite Series or the Tour level. And the reason that they're not on those circuits is because when it came down to the most critical time, they didn't perform.
Yeah.
They might be great anglers, but like a guy like me, I didn't perform. I didn't reach that level.
And I don't know if one of these 30 guys, when the point in time comes, would be willing to come on the show. I would just want to ask them, why are you doing this? Why, especially somebody, if they potentially were part of FLW or part of Bass or part of MLF, who knows? Just to say, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, obviously it would be money. Listen, if you're a good angler, you pay $1,000 in entry fees. Let's say you get $10,000 of it. Let's say you get $15,000 of it covered. Your $30,000 in entry fees. Let's use his estimate of $2,000 per tournament. Your $12,000 in expenses. Your $42,000 in. Let's say you get $10,000 of it covered. Now you're $32,000 of it in, right? And you're a good angler. You're gonna bank on yourself to make money on that, to basically cash a check in most of the events and pop a couple top fives. That's what it's going to take to turn a profit in this.
It's, more power to him. I mean, the dude is a very, very likable guy. The other thing is, some of the other minority owners, they are putting a lot on the line and risking a lot to see this thing, to try and make it successful. And the passion, the discipline, the dedication that all parties involved in this, more power to them, because they are definitely risking a lot.
And it was interesting. He said, 5 years? He said this has been years in the works, but now the timing of the announcement, along with all the changes on the FLW Pro circuit, one of our viewers commented on that. It was interesting if this timing coincides with, lack of a better term, an attempt to appeal to disgruntled FLW Pro Series anglers.
Just in my opinion, as of right now, this is not a true professional tour.
You got to give it some years to develop.
I said right now.
Right now, no. Well, it doesn't even start for 16 months.
I'm just telling you, right now, this is not, to me,
No, I agree. Just because you start a podcast and call it a professional podcast doesn't mean you've got two professional podcasters behind the mic.
I mean, this is our job. This is what we do. This is how we make our money.
But when I started, I wasn't a professional. You weren't either. You were a guy who just retired from UPS who took a damn camera and a cardboard box and a firewire cable to an Elite Series tournament. And thankfully, they didn't check credentials really close to learn that you weren't a journalist, you weren't a writer, you weren't a videographer, you weren't a radio host.
That is not a good comparison because nobody was doing it.
No, I'm just saying, just because you immediately started out doing it didn't make you a professional at it. You became a professional over time based on the results and what it turned into.
That's right. But it was based upon that there was a need because that didn't exist.
Right.
That did not exist.
So it developed. So just the same way this is, it could develop into a viable professional league.
Yeah. Well,
you see what I'm saying? I was giving you props. I wasn't. I was just saying.
No, I know.
It's just like this. You started just because you say you're a pro in the industry doesn't mean you are until you've proven it through your results and your income and your time and your investment in it.
See, Andy in Indiana makes a good point. He goes, hey, Mark, he started at the bottom and worked his way up.
Right.
That's a valid point.
Right. And I don't think we know where this league is. Is it a bottom, top, middle, completely independent thing? But there's no like twist to it. I do like that it's just very traditional.
It is pretty cut and clean.
Yeah. The only thing I would like, I mean, listen, if you want to save money, drop the practice down to a couple less days because all the anglers are fishing all 3 days of competition. We didn't even get into that. How all three anglers will fish the 3 days. So you talk about there's additional money in that when you're practicing for 3 days. Then you have an off day. So that means you're going to get there on a Friday. Right? Because practice is going to start on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 3 extra nights because Wednesday's an off day, plus they fish the 3 days. You're talking about 2 extra tanks of gas. You're talking about an extra $500 to $600 per tournament in expenses with the extra practice day, the off day, and you're fishing the 3rd day.
Yeah. You know, I've heard numbers. The number that I've heard, and this was, I don't know, 3-4 years ago from Wade Middleton, that the percentage of collegiate anglers that go on to participate at a professional level is less than 5%. Less than 5%.
Of the anglers who fish tournaments?
Fish collegiately.
Collegiately.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Less than 5%. And I think the number that he gave me was right around in the 30 to 40% range of guys after college that fish like local tournaments and jackpots and little club stuff and everything. So that's not the greatest pool. And besides, you know, I made the point, man, when you're right out of college and the majority of people, you got to pay back those loans because in so many situations, the only way that people can go to college is to get a student loan. It is rough that first 5 years.
Right. And that's what he said. He was looking for the guys who are out of it 5 years and are financially secure. That's what he said today.
I know, but that 5th year, when you're in a professional situation where you are making that kind of money, it is enormously demanding from your occupation.
Absolutely.
And to be able to pull time from that 5th year that you're trying to establish yourself as an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, you're not going to have time to do this.
Yeah, the other thing that's interesting to me is the full week that it takes, you know, with the practice starting on Saturday, and you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday with the tournaments. Yeah, you're losing at least 7 weeks with the championship event of work. Like full weeks, not like, hey, I'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Dude, you're in just the trenches of your career 5 years out of college. Trenches.
And then depending on what you're doing, you're getting married or having your first kid and you got the mortgage. But like I said, if there's guys who are in a financial position, all you need is 90 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Dan Bilzerian gets a bass boat and we're good to go.
Would a better name for this be high stakes bass fishing?
Nah, dude. I mean, I like the name's fine. Whatever. I mean,
no. Would that be a better?
No, it's 100% high stakes bass.
That's what
fishing.
I'm saying.
But if you look at it, all bass fishing is high stakes bass fishing. That's the whole thing with the BPT. Is the no entry fee at the top? Is it's the first no entry fee? They just skip over the part where you have to spend $80,000 in entry fees to get to the no entry fee now. But I mean, we sit around all the time and talk about it. The Elite Series, the FLW Tour, the Costas, all it is giant Wednesday night jackpots, Mark, where guys are fishing for each other's money. You catch fish, you make money. The guy you room with, part of your check from your 10th place finish is from that guy finishing 90th and not cashing a check. Correct?
Yeah. No,
then you
right.
got the tournament guy who takes it so you can have your chicken dinner before the championship. The money goes into the championship. You fish for your own money, even though they say it's a no entry fee event. Everything is giant Wednesday night jackpots. You just add zeros on the end of the $100 entry fee or the $50 entry fee.
And have fancy jerseys.
I'm fine with that. I know that going in.
Oh, by the way, I got to give it up to you for not doning the sublimation.
I don't even own any sublimation.
I know, man. I'm proud of you.
I have it at all. I was going up on stage and I was supposed to pin a Costa logo on so I could win a pair of sunglasses, and I'm going up there and I'm like, crap, I don't have a safety pin and I'm not just going to hold it on my hat. So I said, screw it, I don't need the sunglasses. So I just walked up.
That was awesome.
That's how Rob Burns was too. He had the jersey on for that, but I mean, the hunting boots, the shorts, legendary.
Wow. All right. Great week. Have to thank everybody.
I'm intrigued with this league.
Yeah, we'll see, man.
I'm intrigued on the moves they'll make. I'm intrigued if they'll be able to get some endemics, some non-endemics. I'll be intrigued when they start announcing the names of the guys. If they're guys who you're like, you mean they're not fishing XYZ circuit? They're putting their money in on this?
Oh, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
These guys have the Big Bass Bash behind them.
Yeah.
You ever been to Lake of the Ozarks for a 1,000-boat Big Bass Bash? I was this weekend. They can obviously draw boats to their events.
I'm with you, man. All right. Thank you to Seth Fider, Ott Defo, Zell Rowland, and today Al McCullough. Great week. They want a fish show tomorrow, dude. I got meetings I got to go to.
Yeah, I got to take care of some stuff.
Sorry. All right. Bradley Hallman in studio on Monday. Everybody be safe. Stay warm. That's it. We're out of here.